In leadership circles and in business in general, we are constantly talking about progress. But what is that? What is progress? What is success? And how can we effectively judge it? Something I believe that we leaders got to do better on is recognizing that progress is A, not necessarily linear, and B, not ever identical. See, we have this tendency as human beings, not just as leaders, but as human beings, to judge the progress, there's that word, of another human being through the lens of our own journey and experience. So, if I particularly learn to do things in a certain order of this and then that and then this other thing, and then we see one person that knows that last thing, and we're like, wow, they are so far ahead. And then we see this other person that knows this first thing, and we're like, wow, they're not very far in their journey. And there's two huge problems with that. The first problem is it's egocentric. It's basing our entire perception about others on our own experience. And while that's normal and while that's common, it's not good. The second problem is this: that person that you think is super smart might, maybe, possibly be super smart. They also might know this one thing that you happen to learn last, but they don't know any of the stuff that you learned first. Meanwhile, this person that knows what you might think of as a little actually has grown so much more than you or that other person because they didn't have the same foundation, the same start, the same opportunity that you did. And so if I can make this a numbers thing, I'm kind of a numbers guy. I'm an analytics kind of person. All right. So if I can look at this spectrum and I can say, all right, we are going from 1 all the way to 100. And I look at the person and I say, wow, they're at an 80. Wow, that's amazing. But what I don't realize is because of whether it's their family history or the education that they enjoyed or whatever, they've only had to grow from a 50. They've only grown 30 points. Meanwhile, I've got an individual that's at a 50. And it's like, kind of mid. But they started at a 0. And they have fought and they have been diligent and they have been disciplined, and their growth far exceeds your or mine. See, progress doesn't look the same. Additionally, you might have points where you have amazing growth, only to see some relapse, and then much more growth, and then a relapse, and then an even bigger relapse, and then growth. And it's different journeys, different people, different circumstances and situations. And so when we are evaluating people, whether it's our staff or whether it is even ourselves, we have to remember that progress doesn't look the same for everyone. We should not be judging ourselves based on the progress of another person, and we should not be basing the progress of another person on ourselves. What we should always be doing is asking the question, where are they today as opposed to yesterday? And the same question goes for you and I. Am I a better version of John today than I was yesterday, last month, last year, last decade? Or am I the same person? Sure, maybe I'm better than somebody at something, but have I grown? Have I actually made progress? Progress doesn't look the same. Progress is not based on anybody else, but progress is something we should all be striving for. Thank you for joining me. My name is John. You're watching the Servant Minded Leadership channel, where we are empowering leaders to change the world.